Greetings and welcome to something brand new here on the channel. I'm Steve Deace. Welcome to Rant. I have contemplated doing this for several years. Really, I've been contemplating doing it since 10-year-old Stevie moved to Grand Rapids, Michigan in November of 1983 and discovered Billy Sims and the Detroit Lions, and I've been a fan and suffering ever since. And I haven't done it simply because I didn't think there was a lot of hope. And now I kind of do. Now I think the House of Usher curse that has been the Detroit Lions since they last won an NFL championship on December 28th, 1957. One playoff win since then, my senior year in high school. Thumbs up. All right. I kind of think maybe the Holmes-Campbell team are here to burn the House of Usher that has been the Detroit Lions franchise to the ground. So it might be safe to come out and finally do this show. Maybe the roar will finally be restored. So every now and then, and more often once the season gets underway, we'll have a good rant here on what's going on with the Detroit Lions and the NFL. And it's a great time to do it and debut it right now. We are post-NFL Combine, getting ready for the start of free agency next week. And those two events really go together. You really can't, I know we all love to watch and read mock drafts, but the truth is they're irrelevant until we get to free agency. For example, the Lions make a trade for Jalen Ramsey. I'll have more on that in a moment. They're not going to do what every mock draft has them doing right now, which is picking a corner in the first round. That totally changes their draft priorities, right? So you've got to factor the draft and free agency into one another when determining both what you think your team will do in free agency and then also in the draft. Some years, some positions are more anemic than others. Some years, they're stronger than others. In fact, this NFL Combine could not have gone better for Detroit. I mean, the Lions' number one need is at the corner position. This might be the deepest corner class in recent memory, especially at the top with some guys like Christian Gonzalez who are really elite prospects. On the other hand, when you take a look at Anthony Richardson's soaring ascendancy with his workout, that's just what the Lions wanted. Now, I'm not entirely sure they're not interested in him. They did scout 5 of his games last year, according to Nick Baumgartner at the Athletic. All right, so maybe they were there sometime for Osiris Torrance, the outstanding guard that played with him, but they saw a lot of Anthony Richardson. That notwithstanding, if they're not interested in him, the fact that his stock has taken off after that combine workout, the more of those quarterbacks that could go in the top 5, the more blue chippers fall potentially to the Lions at number 6. So with all that in mind, and noting that right now, at the time we're recording this, the Lions have about $23.5 million available to them under the salary cap, according to the NFL. That would put them 9th overall for salary cap space, and with, I think, the first or second youngest roster in the NFL. They're set up to maybe finally do something special. It'll be these next few decisions that'll determine how quickly the clock here accelerates. So let's get to the top 5 thoughts that I have heading in to free agency and heading out of the combine, because again, you have to put these two events together. Number 5, post-combine thoughts. Let's begin with this. Don't be surprised if Brad Holmes sees Calijah Kancey of Pitt as kind of a Rams Aaron Donald prototype, whom the Rams, of course, drafted when Brad was there with L.A. Brad Holmes loves drafting defensive linemen. They're similar physically. Aaron Donald was considered undersized as well, although he was also considered a stronger player than Calijah is right now. But they're even from the same alma mater. It's also very hard to sign free agent defensive tackles, like the Commanders putting the franchise tag on Daron Payne. Teams don't want to let those guys go. It's the other big need that Detroit has. Don't be surprised if Brad Holmes looks at Calijah Kancey and thinks, could that be the next coming of Aaron Donald? Number 2, as we look at where the combine and free agency and the draft all intersect, I think you're going to see the Lions target safety in free agency, because there's a deep corner class in the draft that will handle that need. So no, I don't think you'll see the Lions make the trade for Jalen Ramsey, even though I'm all for it if they do. But I think you'd also rather be young at corner than safety anyway. I think they'll look for a veteran to put back there with Kirby Joseph. and guys they have coming back from injury, and then they will look to put a stud newcomer at the corner position. Number 3, I think if you don't see the Lions sign a real free agent backup quarterback, like, say, Mike White with the Jets, I think that they will then draft a quarterback in the first 3 rounds. Brad Holmes made sure to highlight that the quarterback room is anemic. You even heard Dan Campbell use references to Jared Goff has bought us some time. That's why I don't think they'll draft somebody like Anthony Richardson 6th. But, man, I don't think it's 100% they won't either. I mean, maybe 20, 25% that they do that. I do think they will draft a quarterback in the first 3 rounds if they don't sign a legitimate backup here in free agency. I think that's a sign that that is coming in the first 3 rounds of the draft. Number 4, this is not a great linebacker draft class. That's the third biggest need defensively. So I look for the Lions to sign a veteran, maybe 2, to build and fill in around Malcolm Rodriguez. Even if they bring Alex Anzalone back, I do think you'll see them sign one more free agent linebacker. I think that's where they'll look to bring in some veterans. They have a promising newcomer there in Malcolm Rodriguez, who really took over that position as a 6th-round draft pick, and as a rookie, he's got a long, it appears, positive future here, but he needs some help, some veteran help, and I think the Lions will go get that in free agency. And then number 5 on this list, a lot of talk about the Lions and Bijan Robinson, the outstanding Texas tailback, especially within Lions fandom and media circles. I absolutely believe Bijan Robinson is worthy of a first-round pick. He might be the best offensive player in the draft, at least the best non-quarterback offensive player in the draft, because I'm a big Bryce Young guy. However, not in this draft would I draft him in the first round, given how deep the running back position is. I do think, however, now, if the Lions, if they at 18, if they draft Bijan Robinson, I'm not going to complain. It's just me, given how deep the draft is at running back, I don't know that I'd spend a first-round pick, even on a kid who compares favorably in terms of a draft eval to Saquon Barkley. But I do think the Lions have to re-sign Jamal Williams, if for no other reason, given his importance to the overall culture. I do think the Lions, at some point in this draft, whether it's Bijan Robinson in the first round or somebody else in the latter rounds, will draft DeAndre Swift's replacement in this draft. It's, DeAndre Swift is fun to watch when he plays, explosive when he plays. That's the problem, the caveat there at the end, when he plays. I mean, DeAndre Swift is the fulfillment of the classic line, the best ability is availability. So again, make sure when you're evaluating what a team's going to do in the draft, you have to consider first what they've done in free agency and what positions are strong in free agency vis-a-vis the draft and vice versa. And that's what we've done here. I hope you've enjoyed our very first episode of Roar Rant. It's an exciting time, finally, to be a Detroit Lions fan. I'm Steve Deace. We'll see you right here on the channel on Roar Rant next time.